My adoptive daughter decided to uninvite us to her wedding and chose her people who left her to die in the middle of nowhere when she was a child, so we canceled everything we paid for. Our adoptive daughter is 24. She's black, and we're not. About 19 years ago, my wife and I were driving on a highway back from a short vacation, went along a particularly long stretch of road, absolutely no buildings around, only a ton of grass and hills as far as the eye could see. We spotted a little girl just sitting by the side of the road. As I mentioned, there was nothing around for miles and no cars close to where the girl was, so we decided to stop and see if everything was okay. When we got closer to the girl, let's call her Gia, it was effortless to see she was dirty and malnourished since the only thing she had on was some diapers. She was so small it didn't look like she could be older than 3. Later found out she was 5. We asked her why she was alone, and she said, "Mommy and Daddy put her here and told her to wait." There was no cell signal, so we did the sensible thing and brought her back to town to the nearest police station. To make a long story short, CPS was called. We discovered her parents were some druggies that were on the run from a felony. The only other relative Gia had was her grandmother who was very mentally ill and couldn't take care of her, and we felt terrible. She went into foster care soon after, but we felt terrible for the kid and kept in touch with her caseworker. I had still do an extremely well-paying job at the time. I could afford a decent lifestyle for a small family. So after a few months of discussions between ourselves, the caseworker, and some bureaucracy, we formally adopted Gia. Now onto the situation. About 3 years ago, Gia's parents were released from prison on parole. They contacted her not long after in hopes of reconnecting. Before that, they'd sent her a few odd letters but nothing substantial. At first, she was hesitant to talk to them, but she ended up caving and meeting them for lunch one day. I'll admit that some of me was jealous and apprehensive of what could happen, but I could see that it was something that my daughter wanted to do. So for her sake, I swallowed those and supported her through it. It wasn't long, about 3 months, that she started pulling away from us. At first, I chalked it up to her being excited actually to talk to her bio parents after so long. Talk about what had been going on in her life, spend some time with them, etc. It started to bother me when she'd cancel plans with us last minute because mom had or dad needs me to help him with something today or whatever other excuse she could come up with. She used to come to our house at least once a week and call daily, but now we were lucky if she even came by that month. Again, I thought that was just temporary, that she was just excited. And soon enough, she'd start spending some time with us again. We were overjoyed when she invited us over to dinner one night. It was supposed to be a family gathering, us and her bio parents and boyfriend. I wasn't exactly keen on meeting the people who had left my daughter for dead on the side of the road, but I decided to give them the benefit of the doubt, thinking maybe they'd atoned and changed. Besides, she's our daughter, and we love her. We had to try, at least. To say the dinner was a disaster is an understatement. Her bio mom was extremely rude to me, my wife, the entire making passive-aggressive homophobic and racist remarks every chance she got. Her father was much the same. It all came to a head when she straight up called us the F word and threw a glass at my wife. A screaming match followed, and we left soon after. The next day, Gia apologized profusely and promised they'd never do something like that again. I told her neither I nor my wife wanted to have anything to do with them and would appreciate it if she understood that. She seemed to but continued to pull away the next few months. And that leads to what happened last week. Gia proposed to her boyfriend about 9 months back and has been preparing for the wedding since. Of course, we were overjoyed for her, but a few months went by and no invitation came. Gia old say they hadn't been sent out yet and changed the subject whenever we asked. Last week, my wife saw a Twitter post from one of Gia's friends, her groomsman, that went a few weeks back with the invitation in his hands. We confronted Gia about it the next time she came over, only for her to drop the bomb on us, saying that we hadn't been invited. We asked why, and she said her parents didn't want us there and wouldn't come if we did. I was effing furious. I asked her how she could choose those pieces of trash over us. Why they were so important. What did we do to deserve this kind of treatment? Her answer? They understand me better. They're my people. My wife was crying asking how she could do it. I've only been outraged a few times, and this moment managed to top all of them. I threw her out immediately and then told her never to return, that she wasn't our daughter anymore. I spent the rest of the day hugging my wife and trying to calm her down. The next day, I canceled everything we'd paid for the wedding, which was necessary, even the ones we couldn't get a refund on. Of course, Gia had the gall to call and scream at me, asking how I could do that to her. Where would she find replacements for a wedding that was supposed to happen only a few months from now? I told her I didn't care and said, maybe you should ask those 2 leeches you call parents for help. 19 years. 19 effing years of my goddamn life spent raising and loving a kid that I considered my daughter only to be treated like garbage. Giving blood, sweat, and tears so she would have a good life. All the love we can give is what we get as a reward.